Welcome back. Survival Saturday with Johnny Tiger. April 16, 2022. We're back to doing some striking because it's been 2 weeks since I am able to at least strike with my left hand. Uh, I still can't really go crazy on it because there's still some scab around the knuckles, but that leads to me wanting to talk about what we're going to talk about today. But before we go into that, I wonder how many people can make out my movements. I'm guessing that it's a little bit difficult because of the angle I'm striking from and the angle of the camera. But let's look at that again. With the right hand, so you see that's a one. First I do a one strike, one punch, very generic, straight punch. And then you can probably make out the third move when I do the three hit. The last move is the elbow strike. So I wonder how many of you can make out that second move. I imagine it's really difficult to make that out. To a lot of people, that second move may just look like another punch. But let's break this down. Right? What's my arm? The first strike, you would be right. It's a standard forward punch, nothing fancy. And then we throw the second strike without retracting our hand. So the second strike is actually a heel of the hand. Boom! And then, again, without retracting much, we step in and throw the elbow. So it's a punch, heel strike, elbow. Punch, heel strike, elbow. All with the same arm, same hand, without pulling back much. One of my Johnny Tiger specials. And it is that palm strike that I'm going to talk about today. A lot of time, when people teach you how to do palm strike, they tell you to keep your hand open. Open your hand. Palm strike. So you hit with your palm. Pow, pow, pow. Huh? Pow. Huh? That's how you do palm strike. Right? However, once in a while, you may see people such as Johnny Tiger or people in movies that they, when they throw the palm strike, they still have a fist. All they do is they tip their fist upward, bring their knuckle up toward their wrist, exposing the heel of the hand, and then they drive in with the heel of the hand. When I teach this, I always say, imagine you have a small knife strapped to your wrist, and the only way to expose that knife is to bring your knuckle back to expose the heel of your hand, and then drive this forward. That's the movement you want, is to drive in with the heel of your palm while maintaining your fist. You will see this used mostly by law enforcement, military personnel, and that's where I learned it when I trained with the army in Taiwan when I was little. Neither neither style is right or wrong. If people hit with open palm, people hit with closed fist, but the heel of the hand. Neither is right or wrong. Okay, whatever works. But today I'm going to give you guys a quick breakdown of the pros and cons of each. Obviously, the best way to do it is to train in both. and know when to use what. So why do people say open your hand? Well, because it's more natural. Right? When you open your hand and you want to hit, you automatically go to the palm. And also, your contact surface is a lot bigger because you got your whole hand in there. Not to mention, it allows you to change from a standard palm strike to grabbing, to pulling, to restraining your target easier because your fingers are open. So if you hit and miss somehow, you go past them, you can pull back and grab their clothes. Okay, so open hand have these advantages. You know, bigger surface, easier to, more natural feeling because it's just like pushing something, right? And then the ability to lash and grab with your finger. The problematic part of keeping your hand open is one, if you miss and you find someone who knows what they're doing, you open your hand and you go for a palm strike, they can grab your finger. Okay? If you get tangled up, most likely you are going to suddenly find yourself trying to prevent yourself from having your finger grabbed. That's the first problem. Second problem with the open palm strike is because the contact surface is so big, sometimes it's not quite as impactful. The impact is not quite as good. We all know that to maximize the impact, the smaller the impact point is, the harder the impact will be. If you can concentrate all your impact into one point, rather than the size of your hand, maybe just the size of the bottom of your hand, the smaller contact point hit harder. Also, when you have an open palm and you go to hit, and this actually happened to me a lot, embarrassingly. Okay, if I hit at a wrong angle, like if I go too low and I go in and hit the person's rib cage, in the rib cage, but the curvature of their rib cage and their chest, their pecs, hyperextend my wrist back when I hit. So my wrist flex back too much because my fingers are blocked by the uh, more bulging part of the body. This create more problem for me. Now I injured my wrist. Okay, so those are the pros and cons of striking, palm striking with an open hand. Palm striking with a closed fist. The now this is why they teach this in the military and law enforcement. Because a lot of times in law enforcement, you're not doing MMA, you're not doing like karate. You are trying to restrain the person, you're trying to apprehend, or you're trying to uh, 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 neutralize the person, which means I may be in a situation where I have a knife in my hand. I may be in a situation where I might have a pistol in my hand. I might be in a situation where I just took the pistol away from the assailant. I'm still got the pistol in my hand, but I'm got it at the wrong angle. I don't have a good hold on the gun. I may have something in my hand in short. So if I only train in the open palm strike, then suddenly I got a bit of a problem. I'm juggling this. I got a knife in my hand, but I don't want to kill the person because I'm the good guy. I'm supposed to be the good guy. All right? So in this case, it's good to know to flip your knuckle back and look how the knife hilt line up with the bottom of my hand. So I drive this hilt and the bottom of my palm into the person without killing them, right? I don't have to drop whatever's in my hand for me to do this palm strike, unlike if I train with the open palm. The second advantage, and we'll demonstrate this near the end of the video, is speed. If I don't have to open my hand, then I'm not obvious about it. When I go in, I can be throwing a regular punch. I can be throwing a hammer fist. I can be throwing a regular punch and then change my mind at the last minute and then drive the heel of my palm in, like a palm strike. Okay? So all I have to do is change the angle of my wrist to accomplish this. I don't have to open my hand. Right? And then of course there's the advantage of harder hit because now no matter what I contact with, whether down here at the heel of my hand or up here at the forward knuckle, make sure you want to condition these two because a lot of people just condition these big knuckles on the back. They don't condition these one in the front. And so when they hit these, it hurts a lot. But yes, you need to condition the forward, the smaller knuckles as well if you're conditioning your hand. So when I go in for a palm strike, I either hit with the palm, which is pretty bony, the heel of the palm, or I hit with a forward knuckle, which is really bony too. So I maximize my damage output rather than having a big, wide open hand, pa, like that. That just mostly just shocks the hell out of the person, doesn't really do a lot of damage. Now, the disadvantage of a close hand is this takes more training. This is less natural for a lot of people. When they do this for the first few times, they sprain their wrist because they drive in and contact with their fist. Okay? You want to focus, like I said, imagine there's a knife strapped to your wrist and you want to drive this in. You have to lead with the heel of your hand, not your fist. Otherwise, you'll sprain the hell out of your wrist. Like this. If I go in with my fist and go like fist first, I will sprain my wrist. But if I go heel of my hand first, I can do this all day. It doesn't do any damage to me, right? So you take more training. And second, uh, if you're hitting a hard target, like you're hitting someone's head, for example, then you might want to just go open hand. Okay, head is very hard, palm is softer. If I hit someone on the head with my palm, it's going to rattle them. It's not going to hurt my hand. If I close my fist and do the palm heel strike with a closed fist, there's a chance that I'm going to break my knuckles on their head. Okay, so if it's a really hard target, then you want to resort to open hand. You don't want to do this. Um, of course, you don't run into the problem of having your fingers grabbed if you keep your fist fist closed too. So there's that advantage. Um, so those are the pros and cons. Open hand, closed fist, palm strike. Right? One takes more training, one is more natural, one does more damage, but the other one will protect you if you hit a hard surface. Uh, the open hand run the risk of having your fingers grabbed. The closed fist is much more safe and allow you to hold on to whatever weapon you have without having to fumble them. So, like I said, it's best to learn both. Myself, uh, I prefer the closed fist because a lot of time I do, even in training, I am handling a training weapon or something. So I prefer to, if I don't have to open my hand and change form, that's what I prefer. And not to mention, like I said, when you strike with a heel, with a closed fist, the damage output is usually a lot more. There's also, like I said, the speed factor. And before we end the video, I'll show you guys. Uh, our speaker just fell off the wall. Give me 1 second to get it. Uh, I'm grabbing something off camera. Here is one of our trusty roofing tile that you guys see me break before in the exhibition demonstration. Now, I mentioned before that board breaking to me is a little bit hokey. It's more to do with uh, knowing the board and knowing the right angle to break it and actual strength and stuff like that. But I think today's demonstration will show the speed of this close fist palm strike very well on this board. You see, most people, if you've done board breaking before, you know what I'm talking about. It's extremely hard to break a board when the person who's holding the board for you is not holding it steady. So when you hit it, they back away. When you hit it, they move. And you end up getting really frustrated because you can't break it because they are shrinking back. They're dumping all your energy. However, once you become very comfortable, once you become really, really good at what you do, then that no longer is a problem. The person can shrink all they want, you will still break that board. And then gradually you move to even more difficult board breaking, like I'm going to show you guys today. This is me holding onto the board with just 2 fingers in my left hand. But this is very wonky stuff, really wonky. Like if I hit it, it drifts away. If I hit it, it drifts away. Okay, because I'm not holding it firm. It's just dangling between my 2 fingers like this, right? This is more advanced board breaking. You have to have very precise pressure output to do this. This is how fast and how hard you can do with a palm strike, with a closed fist. I don't even have to pull back and wind up, right? From my fist touching the board, I flex my wrist back and I'm going to hit it that way, right? Okay, as you guys see, it bounces away when I do that, right? That's what's going to happen, right? Like if I hit it and my energy is not good enough, then it's just going to bounce out of my hand. It's going to swing, right? But if we do our palm strike just right, yeah. So that is the what this style of palm strike can be like when you get really good at it. It can output a lot of energy at a very short distance just from that flexing your wrist back motion. Okay. Thank you for checking out today's Survival Saturday. That I will admit that board breaking that was a little bit harder than I thought it would be, and I'm a little bit out of practice, but we got it done in the end. And in some ways, I'm glad that you guys saw a few failed attempts because that you know what I'm talking about. That style of board breaking is very difficult because of how wonky, how loose the board is. Um, when you try this at home, be careful. It sometimes it hurts the hand that's holding the board. Okay. I'll see you guys again tomorrow in Soul Search Sunday. Have a good night.